All right. Yeah, it's difficult to hear anything before I've said anything, number 454. So, hello there, everyone, and welcome to Corey Loses, where today we're going to be taking a very early look at Fall of the Republic. So, Fall of the Republic, for those of you who don't know, this is not Republic at War. This is the Clone Wars mod that we're making at Thrawn's Revenge. So, if you are familiar with Imperial Civil War, which you probably are if you're on this channel, Republic at War is a different mod. This is Fall of the Republic. Okay, so yeah, this is a mod that we started working on basically 13 years ago with the start of Thrawn's Revenge, but it kind of fell by the wayside. We had to shut it down for a while, but in 2017 we announced it again, that we were bringing it back. I think I will turn on some tour background music, just so that there's something to listen to in the background. I can't have the actual game soundtrack on, because I'd get copy strike like right away. So I'll do this. So yeah, the soundtrack you're going to be hearing is the Old Republic. It's not the Fall of the Republic one. But yeah, so the preview playthroughs, we're going to be starting full preview playthroughs for Fall of the Republic fairly soon. This is going to be a quick testing and preview stream. I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions as I can. Probably go for like 2 hours, hour and a half, something. We're going to play a little bit of CIS, a little bit of Republic, and then in a couple weeks we are going to be starting the full preview playthroughs like what I do with Imperial Civil War. The plan with those right now, before I... just tentative plans right now, is I've been talking to Captain Shack, or the XP Gamers, depending on what you know him as, but he's another YouTuber who does a lot of Star Wars games, a lot of Empire at War. So our plan with that is to start off where I'm going to be doing a CIS Let's Play, he's going to be doing a Republic Let's Play, and then I'm going to do a Republic Let's Play after that. So we're both going to start at the same time. That way you guys will get a look at the game for both factions at the same time, and it'll ideally help both channels. But I guess we'll start... I'm going to start with the CIS, because why not? Because I know everyone likes the Republic more, but there's been more people asking in the chat for CIS right now, which is very strange. We're going to go with it. But yeah, so I'll start... I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions from the chat as I can, but we'll go from there. No, it's not going to be a multiplayer Let's Play. Multiplayer GC and Empire at War is just fucking terrible. It's unstable. You can't mod most parts of it. So it's going to be like, he's going to be doing Republic, I'm going to be doing CIS on our own channels, and it'll just point back and forth. But yeah. Thanks, Autofire. Appreciate it. Alright, let's do the thing. There's going to be... So I should say beforehand, this is very much a work in progress. There's going to be a lot of placeholder assets, a lot of missing text. You're going to see for Dooku's speech here. It's missing text. But this is all stuff that's going to be obviously cleaned up by release. Stuff that we're going to be cleaning up as we go. Basically, our idea... So the first version we release is going to be called 0.5. The way we're going to distinguish between when it goes from 0.05 or 0.5, 0.99, whatever, is going to be when there's no more placeholder assets. So when all the UI stuff is replaced, all the all the model assets showing like Republic or Empire stuff is replaced. Because right now there are a lot of placeholders for things, because obviously it is in development. But yeah. So this map we're on right now, this is... I want to say it's like 110 planets. So let's... It'll come up in the stats. Campaign overview, don't care. Did I put it on hard? I hope I put it on hard. So early on, there is a bit of a rush from the AI, just because you start really built up on both sides, so it's impossible to cover all your bases. There are some planets that are a bit easier for the CIS to take, some planets that are a bit easier for the Republic to take. Like the CIS, you're going to have a better time on the Outer Rim. The Republic, you're going to be able to consolidate the core a bit more. And I should also say, if you didn't watch the ICW preview stream, or preview series, this new background map, it's based on some work that was started by Lord Imprimi from the Vong Invasion mod that he re-released, and now we're editing it. So all that, but who's the one with the mouth open? This is Cantival. He's a captain. He has a Munificent. But the heroes that we have right now, we have Captain Cantival, General Grievous, Porus Tonith, Lockderd, and Worm Loathsome, and then Grievous. Then there's obviously stuff like Dooku, Asajj Ventress, Dirge. We did a whole news post on the heroes that each faction is going to have. So we're not going to invade Coruscant right now, but let's turn on all the filters and oh yeah. So yeah, you can see stuff here like the Empress, the Golans. These are still just in from ICW. They aren't going to be something that you can use. We're going to have other different defense platforms for each faction, ideally. But let's do Seraphim.
Tactical battle imminent.
We have different map sizes. So I'm sorry if I'm going to miss a lot of questions because there is a lot of them coming through, and it'll take a while to start. But like most planets are pretty heavily defended and built up at the start of the GC. There are pretty massive fleets for each. But yeah.
Enemy forces ahead.
But so for map sizes, yeah, there's going to be 3 different versions of the progressive map, just like there are in ICW.
Choose your reinforcements.
The
Reinforcements.
one we're on right now would probably be the medium-sized one, then there's going to be a smaller one, then there's going to be more regional ones. So there will be a good map variety, just like in ICW. Not quite as many as in ICW, because obviously like there's not as many faction combinations, and it's not as long a time period as ICW has, so we don't have to cover as much. There is going to be tech research, and it is going to be tied to eras. So, unlike in ICW, you don't kill leaders to change, like, it's not tied to who's leading what, like the ICW eras are. It's based on just the progression of time, and then within each era, there's different research options that come up, different heroes and events that come up. So the eras in Fall of the Republic are more of, I guess, containers. They contain the different events and sort of just give you an idea of what you're going to be playing in, because you're going to be able to choose different eras for stuff. So if you want to start in year 2 of the Clone Wars instead of year 1, you'll be able to do that with the appropriate stuff unlocked, the appropriate events will start, and the appropriate planets will be controlled by each faction as much as we can determine that, because not all the maps are that fantastic for it, and we also have to do some stuff for balance. But just like in ICW with 2.3, you'll be able to make those choices yourself. The Looper Hawk be the battleship variant. So the one we're using right now, this is the battleship variant. There's also going to be the droid control ship, which is not currently rigged in game. But yeah, so the Golan 1 platform will be available to at least the Republic, maybe for the CIS as well, because they were made before. And then I think the Golan 2 is going to be something you can research as the Republic. There's also some other choices for each faction for defensive structures. You would add Maul and his brother Savage Lewis to the purpose of a faction like that. Shadow Collective wouldn't be able to control territory or have a fleet, so it doesn't make a good faction for Empire at War.
Recruiting troops. Beginning construction.
For us, okay. So for us, we can build some of this other ground stuff.
Soldiers.
I don't think I started us. Yeah, it's mostly just Persuaders that we have as starting forces because when I set up the initial starting forces for the map, there weren't as many other things going on. But let's see if they've moved away from Coruscant. Well, the droid control ship is not as powerful combat-wise. There's going to be some other event or other abilities that we try to give it. See, like Coruscant is pretty heavily defended.
We've located the enemy.
Who'll be getting the ion cannon? So it'll probably be different weapons. Right now they have the ion cannon and hypervelocity gun. Just because we don't have the other assets done yet. But we're going to be working on a different, low orbit Coruscant map. The thing I've always disliked about them is how unreadable they are. So we're talking a lot about how to make it actually readable, so you can have the Coruscant planet surface under the map while not getting super confused about what's going on. I think we could win this, but I don't really want to take Coruscant right now. Oh well. People like big battles. This isn't going to be for a full Let's Play. So, let's just get all our shit killed. Or kill all their shit. You know, whichever happens.
Destination confirmed.
I think we do have a slightly bigger fleet right now. They moved a lot of their forces away from Coruscant, it looks like. Bulwark 2 be a different model or just smaller than Bulwark 3? So Bulwark 1, 2, and 3 are currently all using the same model between ICW and Fall of the Republic. It'll be whichever... If we can make... Like, if we have the time and resources to make a modified one later, then we'll do it. But... all the recusants are just... Recusants do a lot of damage, but they're very fragile, so the fact that I just jumped them in, it's gonna get them killed. Obviously, we're very early in the testing for a lot of this. We have balance information from ICW, so we're not starting from scratch. But there will be a lot of testing and adjustment that has to go on with that. I'm just going to press buttons. Okay, you can watch that for a while. I'm going to read the chat. That... Let's see. The CS have different unit pop cap of the Republic to reflect the size. So for both, another question came up about ground cap earlier, and I think that might have been Asterix. But pop cap is determined by ship power. So the factional pop caps are the same. It's just if a ship is weaker and the faction is more based on spamming, they're going to have more ships that just cost less pop cap. And on the ground, we generally don't like having units that take up more than one pop cap because that can really fuck with how you have to scale everything. So generally we put like the most powerful unit comes in a company of 1 with pop cap of 1, and then when you move into like the other companies, you get pop cap of 1 still, but you get more units per company. So like you'll get 1 ATTE, that's worth 1 pop cap, and then you'll get a company of like 4 or 5 AATs, you'll get a company of a Juggernaut. The most we do with that is like if there's a unit that's like really strong and we want to have a maximum of 5 per battle or whatever, then we might give that a pop cap of 2, but it's very rare that we do that. Will the CI ships and units have Droid VO? Will be more like the original battle. So yeah, one thing that we haven't done anything yet with actually in-game is the VO for stuff. So there's still some choices we have to make with that, a lot of work to implement that. But that's all stuff that will be done. Everything will have appropriate voiceovers by the time. If not all for the first release, then that's one of the correct... Oh god, we're inside of Luke Hulk Hanger. That'll all be stuff that we work on for at least a second release. By the time we get to 1.0. So it'll be a process just like with ICW where it's hard to have all... With ICW it's a little bit more difficult because there's hundreds of units, basically hundreds of heroes and units. With the Clone Wars in Fall of the Republic, there's fewer things. You can see some ties flying around right now, which is holdovers from ICW, again, placeholders. But yeah. What's each faction's super ship? So the Malevolence model or Subjugator class is being worked on for the CIS right now. Then there's going to be the Mandator 2 for the Republic. We haven't done a design for that. I don't think it'll be in 1.0 very likely, or in 0.5. It's not looking at TIE fighters right now. But yeah. Will we be able to get the Praetors that was used for the... So the Praetor 1 is something you're going to start with. There's one that starts at the defending force on Kuat. They're going to be slow as shit in hyperspace. Right now it's got the normal Praetor 2 stats. We haven't adjusted it. But it'll be slow as shit in hyperspace, or it'll be used as a defensive structure, the Praetor. So something that can move around in the map, but it still functions like a golem. because it was mostly used for system defense. The Praetor 2 would be something that you can research a little bit later on in the Clone Wars. So they are going to be distinct classes. This Order 66 coming to the mod. Yeah, so there'll be story events related to Order 66, related to early work that was done to transition to the Empire. So like you're going to get, with the main Order 66 path, you're going to have events that transition you more towards Quad, like you're going to be working with Quad Drive Yards to introduce like the ISD, the Secular, which are going to be provided in different, like you're not going to build them. There's going to be other story stuff that gets you a couple of them, because we don't want to have the Republic late game ships or late game fleets being pure ISDs or something, and arbitrary build limits I usually don't like except for SSDs for balance reasons, so we'd prefer to work in more story related stuff. There's also going to be the option for Republic players to go another path, so they can either do the Order 66 route, which kill all the Jedi, start becoming the Empire, as well as a separate like depose Palpatine route, which will take a little bit more player input, and we have to do a lot more planning for, because obviously you have to find ways to make that worthwhile for the player to do, unless they just feel like they morally want to do that, in which case go wild. But yeah, what else did I miss? Thanks, Kyle. The mod stay Steam exclusive or join Epic Game Store? I don't know what Epic Game Store would be. Like, we don't, like, it's whatever copies of EAW are there, so anything that's, like, for whatever reason they put Empire at War on Origin. I don't know why they did that and used the GOG version. It just frustrates me because it's not the patched version that came with Steam. The mod will be available for Mod Database and Steam Workshop, like usual though. So it'll be compatible with everything unless there's stuff that specifically requires the Steam fixes, which it shouldn't for at least early versions of Fall of the Republic. Is that a meme? Okay. I'm old. I don't meme.
We have been defeated.
Oh, we lost. Keeping it to a pop limit of 10 on the planet, or are you going to raise it? No, that's why we do it, so that we increase company size rather than increase we kill the vendor. That's what I get for not commanding anything. But, yeah, so company sizes are done that way for a reason. If you have a pop cap of greater than 10 and you end the battle with more than 10 units on the planet, you break everything, and it really messes with balance. Like, it breaks the UI, it messes with balance. We prefer to work around the 10 thing. 10 pop cap, rather than deal with broken stuff. We're a huge fan of Thrones Revenge. The manner that you use, will it be 1 or 2? As 2 is built without the 1 at the first. Yeah, so I actually just talked about that, but glad you joined the Modcast. So basically, the Praetor 1 will be more stationary, used as a defensive station, possibly, is what Jorrit wants to do. We haven't decided entirely, but I think most of us like his idea. Or it'll just be a really slow thing on the Galactic map, then eventually you'll upgrade to the Praetor 2. So both will be there in some capacity. Not 100% decided on which capacity for each one, but that'll be a thing. Let's attack some fish. .3 beta will be starting soonish. We're doing like the last bits of work now. We're testing stuff. The IRLP is going to be the last preview LP for that before we get into beta, most likely. Will you be adding the sister ship to the Malevolence eventually? So there were a couple different variations visually on the Malevolence. There was Malevolence and Devastation, and the different ones that were built were like kind of split between different visual things. In the first releases initially, we're just gonna have the Malevolence style that people would know from the cartoon. If we can eventually have enough time to do the Devastation version, I'm sure we'd like to. I don't know if it'll ever be feasibly completed. I don't know how... Is the music too loud? I'm not sure how loud I am. I can only hear the music. So... By slow, do you mean Death Star base game? No, slower than that.
Attack formation.
Like, these things were... Because of regulations, they were almost unusable. Like, the idea behind them was that they were unusable in attack. So if players want to use them in attacks, they're going to have to wait around for it. And that was one of the impetus behind creating the Praetor 2, was that it didn't have those same limitations. So it's primarily going to be intended as a defensive thing, which is why the idea of making it just a defensive station you build in game was floated. But part of the problem is that here, I'll see if I can put that down anymore. It might be... Yeah, that does. Yeah, so... Part of the problem with defensive structures is that the AI doesn't know what they are and can't know what they are, which is really annoying. We're trying to think of workarounds for it, but it's a problem in Fall of the Republic and ICW, so...
Brigade standing by.
Will the CS have an event chain for when they start winning? Will the ruling council take control from... we haven't decided too much on specific CIS events yet. This needs to be fixed. It's an issue, like, there's a vertice that should be over here somewhere that ended up over here. So that will be fixed when I can find the vertice. Which is part of a model.
Construction complete.
I just want to get enough stuff that we can invade somewhere. Let's get another fleet together over Volter.
Unit in
A couple
production.
Providence.
Brigade
Anyway.
standing by.
There'll be rebellions you can cite. That might tie into government types. That'll be something we talk about more with ICW 2.4 and then get into this. But will there be pirates? There are no pirate factions that really make any sense. The Hutts will be present, so in Hutt space, and then there will be certain events that can make them. So there will be some, just like in ICW, there will be some maps that are Clone Wars specific, so that'll be CIS and Republic. Then there'd be some that are like the whole galaxy map,
Cruiser
which can
reporting.
include other factions. That would also include the Hutts. The Hutts could show up in some of the Clone Wars specific ones too, but either way, there will be certain mechanics by which the Hutts could become an active faction. So that'll be something we talk about in 2 weeks from now, I think. The news post is going up for that, for both Fall of the Republic and Imperial Civil War. That'll be something to look for.
Brigade standing by.
Tactical battle imminent.
Go back to Seraphon. Yeah, so as Rafay saying there, I do put up every week a progress post on our Discord, just covering what we've done each week for the different mods. So for Ascendancy, for Fall of the Republic, for Imperial Civil War. If you want to keep track of that, there's a link in the description to the
Right
away.
Discord.
Such a fun place to be.
Moving out. Heading out.
Do you plan to add Praetor 1 to ICW? No, they were pretty much entirely
Weapons ready.
put out of service by the existence of the Praetor 2. Any that still existed would have been modified up to the stats of the Praetor 2, so it doesn't really serve much of a purpose there.
Target those lasers. Falling out of formation.
Because of those earlier limitations I mentioned. So it was really on its way out with the Clone Wars.
Got them on the
Stuff
run.
was rearming.
Moving in for the kill.
Will Separate get the GAT? Yeah, so we actually did the... We posted the unit list for 0.5 / what we'd like to get done for 1.0 on Mod Database on the forums. There was a YouTube video here where I went through them all for both factions as well. So GAT's on there. So there's a couple things for the CIS ground that aren't in yet here, like the MTT, the GAT, the HAG, a lot of things with 3 letters. But yeah, so let's just wait for the OG9 to get done here. The things that don't have icons right here, that's the OG9 and the AAT. Because I just haven't done an icon for them yet. They're done with hard points, so detached weapons are kind of difficult to work with when it's a big part of it visually for the icon. Did I build any super battle droids? I did not.
Training
So
soldiers. Recruiting soldiers. Recruitment cancelled. Recruiting soldiers. Enlisting troops.
there. Lucy said that the arrow would start from before the Clone Wars. That's so funny. So there are, like, the main mod is, and especially starting off, it's the Clone Wars. In the future, we'd like to do some either events, historical battles, or whatever that ties into stuff from before the Clone Wars. But that is not something we're going to immediately. Right now, it is a Clone Wars mod. But there's some stuff earlier that we could cover in some ways. They don't necessarily all make great Galactic Conquest scenarios. So it's difficult because there aren't that many different factions and the Republic controls everything. So right now, battle droids obviously have that lovely deep voice. They won't have.
Reinforcements
Get
cancelled.
boys out here, and I haven't used the HMPs yet. Will you lose the clone production if you lose the production bit? No. Clone production is not tied to Kamino. That would go horribly. The CIS players would just immediately kill, go to Kamino, and then there'd be a Clone Wars mod where there's no clones. It'd be like if you're playing ICW, and if you kill, if you take Kuat, the Empire just doesn't have ISDs. It would not go well. The Shadow Collective didn't have any ships, really. Like, you'd have a couple small freighters. They didn't have a navy. They couldn't control planets. If anything, they'd be like something that gets tied to the Hutts and not vice versa. So in the unlikely event that the Hutts became playable or something, there'd be like an event where maybe Maul pops up and then you could do stuff with characters from the Shadow Collective.
Our base is under attack.
Back out of there, HMPs.
Time order, copy. Deploy target.
So yeah, HMPs are pretty good, but they are not just gonna fly around killing everything on their own.
We've secured a build pad.
A big part of that is that most things are able to hit the air in the mod in both ICW and Fall of the Republic. So air units aren't quite the be-all end-all that they are in a lot of other places, because those frustrate me to no end.
We've lost a build pad.
I don't believe those wrist rockets are in that you have to watch, but they either are or will be. You will have to watch. Yeah, I think that those were those wrist rockets. Yeah, I've mentioned it a bunch of times so far that Malevolence will be there. It's currently being made. It's not in game right now. Let's get the Octoptars walking up. Their accelerations really bad. What is their rate of turn set to? That needs to be looked at. Okay, so you have almost no health.
Roger that. Squad unit waiting for orders. That shouldn't be too
We've
hard.
killed a lot of their stuff,
Understood. It's
so
your payroll. I'm up.
don't need to worry about the Octotara right now. Well, the clones and droids have the ability to run and fire at the same time. So, clones do,
Awaiting
B2s do,
on scopes.
the B1s
Ready to
won't,
attack.
is our current plan. Because it's a really good way to make them less effective without necessarily lowering their stats quite as much and still keeping them useful. So, I think that's the current plan.
In my sight. In attack position. Attack.
Unit destroyed. Unit destroyed.
We were playing with the Recusants and ETR. So the
At maximum unit
I'm pretty sure 2.3 will be out before the first version of Fall of the Republic. Fall of the Republic.
is under attack.
The beta definitely will be starting for the for 2.3 before
We've secured a build pad.
first version of Fall of the Republic. Part of why I'm doing this this stream is because I needed to do some testing before we get into the previews for the actual preview playthroughs for Fall of the Republic. So that'll be
We've lost a build pad.
looking for the stuff like
Available.
these uncooperative Octotara. They're really good. I really wish I was using it right now. Because I used them in skirmish and they were fine. I'm not sure if I changed something since then that messed them up.
We've secured a build pad.
In the ATAP suit. So the main ATAP laser is it's supposed to be a physical projectile, I'm pretty sure. Same with the ATTE, so we need to do that projectile, and then at that point it'll be chained. Any of the other lasers will be chained for them to blue. Right now it's still using some ICW stuff.
Your credits are good. Let's
You
hope
guys
your
are just in
orders
the way.
too.
We've secured a build pad. We've lost a build pad.
Bloody Providence cruisers be added into ICW. Well, the Greater Maldrude can already build them, but that is probably getting removed.
Unit destroyed.
Okay, you guys destroy that one.
We can move wherever
Let's get
you
this
want.
other landing pad.
Reporting. Heading out. All out.
We've secured a landing zone.
We've been paid. We'll follow orders.
The CIS be using the Rebel Fast. So, in the first release, it's going to be the Republic will be using the Imperial stuff for as a placeholder, and the CIS will be using the Rebel stuff as a placeholder. That's what I was talking about when I said stuff would be switched out, like the dividing line between 0.99 and 1.0 will be when there's no more placeholders. So stuff like the landing pad, stuff like structures. We're more concerned with getting the content in so we can work on balancing and that kind of stuff rather than focusing on stuff that's mostly visual, like building models. So it's primarily for us about working out bugs. I think the targeting distance on these guys is different than the missile distance, so that's another thing to work out. The Crab Droid model is ready, we just haven't coded it yet. It is the 6-legged version from the movie. It's possible we'll throw in some of the other versions later, but I mean, it's
Yes, sir.
Fire.
not really
Open fire.
kind of redundant. For flavor, maybe later, but I don't know that that would ever be a really high priority for us. Will Late Game Republic fleet going to be better than will variety capital ship? Well, Venators will generally be your better ships. You're not going to be getting a bunch of ISDs, and we're not going to make up a bunch of capital ships for them, because that wouldn't make any sense, really. But the idea, just like with ICW, is that we want to make it so that the different ship styles are worthwhile. It's not going to be like Republic at War, basically, where the Venators have those insta-death beams, and building anything else is just a waste of your time and money.
Beginning
So
construction.
that's the goal with that.
All out.
We might do stuff like make a design for the Stormfleet Destroyer. You have VSDs, you have acclimators that are actually going to be useful, because we're going to be doing like the leveler version of that. So that should all give it different roles in the fleet. Like Venators are good because they're versatile, but
Constructing unit.
the idea is still going to be that you want to use other different stuff. Audio is either clipping or stuttering quite badly. Okay, I don't know what I can do about that.
Construction complete.
Why was the province removed from the GIA? Yeah, we don't want ICW to just be another Clone Wars mod. There's no justification for it being there. They weren't really used anymore. If people want to use a lot of Clone Wars stuff, then we have a Clone Wars mod for that. So people can play the Clone Wars mod. Alright, should we go to Rendili? Go some Dreadnoughts?
Tactical battle imminent.
Will any other quad drive yard ships mean like the Mandator 1 or older ships? The unit lists have been posted, Michael. Oh, sorry, yawned and then stretched and hit my desk.
Enemy unit sighted.
Yeah, so there will definitely be like spy units
Awaiting your command.
similar to what you'd expect from the Probe Droid or the Bothan Spies. So don't worry about it. Like using vision in this game as much as I do. So this guy here is named Jace Dallin. He is the leader of the Rendili Defense Fleet in his happy little dreadnought there, Mercil Kyber?
Choose your reinforcements.
Merble Merble.
Reinforcements en route.
So Rendili, he got a lot of dreadnoughts.
Reinforcements en route.
Probably stay with the CIS for another
Reinforcements
10 minutes or so, and we'll hop over to the Republic.
Let's move out. Let's go.
The Republic has a lot, like all the Jedi heroes are coded in for the Republic, but they are placeholder models. So there's going to be a lot of Luke Skywalkers running around. I did the Obi-Wan and Anakin and Dooku models. Right now I'm working on skinning them, and then I've just got to get them rigged in game. I've got a Plo Koon head done as well, but character modeling is always difficult. So we update credit values for certain roles. Yeah, so right now most credit values are just whatever. Sorry, my throat's dying. Most credit values are whatever the planet they were copied from are. We're going to be reworking the galactic economy quite a bit, so the mechanics in that are going to change. We don't want to have the base values for anything be too high, but it'll just be high enough that it makes it more attractive as a place to put the economic structures and certain other things, but it would be stuff like Noodlinst and Kennedy Moria being higher credit value than Rando Backwoods World.
Navigating to coordinate.
In ICW, I went through and reduced a lot of the fighter counts in battles. In Fall of the Republic, they're still a little bit higher than I'd like them to be, but a bug came up when I was trying to do it that
Ready for duty.
kind of messed up
Target those
the
lasers.
first pass I did it on it. Then that made me sad, and I just
Laser cannon.
gave up, and I'll go back to it later.
Our shields
Yeah.
are down. Our primary engine system is down.
If we release the UI, it's on a modder thing. It's something Imprimi gave to other modders. And it's not the one that you see in this mod. He basically just applied a certain set of shaders, and then the texture changes in that. That's all custom from us. That's not out there anywhere. But yeah, the era changes in Fall of the Republic are based on time. So it's basically a year before this. And then the events that happen within it, the hero unlocks, that all occurs within the era change. Will there be indigenous forces, both separate and Republic? They can build special units. Building, I don't know. There will be planetary defense forces later, but there is a lot of assets you have to make to do that properly. So it's not the focus of the early versions. Even if something is rarely used, that doesn't mean the work to make it is less. So we're focusing on the stuff that is more prominent or more common. So for 0.5, it'll just be whatever was most used by the faction throughout the galaxy, and then later on you'll start getting the other stuff.
Choose your reinforcements.
Coming about.
Okay, let's destroy the shipyard. But in ICW, the eras are leader-based because the different sections of that time period were based on like who was leading the Empire, which is why that's done. In Fall of the Republic, it wouldn't make sense to have it be like you kill a leader and then the era changes, which is why it's not like that. It's just based on the time. And then it's basically like a container for other stuff.
Take out their engines. Target those lasers.
Sir. Course set.
Cannons armed.
I got one.
Rotating turret. No, the game would be super fucking laggy if we did a bunch of rotating turrets. We don't do it because of performance reasons. If we ever did rotating turrets, it would be a separate download that people can add at their own risk, because EAW, like the rotating turrets put a large CPU strain on in addition to some extra memory, which is why like if you bring in a ship with like 50 extra rotating turrets, it'll sit there, the game will freeze for about 30 seconds and then it'll jump in. But when you're adding the rotating turrets, the CPU has to track a lot more and the game is single-threaded. So it does not cooperate with EAW. Even if you have a really good computer, single-core performance hasn't improved that much from 2006. Most processor power increases have come from having more cores doing more things, but that's irrelevant for EAW.
Ready for action.
It's
Choose your reinforcements.
just about
We've secured
individual
the
core
build
strength.
pad.
Heading out.
And no amount of crunches will get your computer able to handle that better.
Maximum unit capacity. We've lost a build pad.
We'll say that before the big Clone Wars takes a lot of the... Okay, but that's all different, varying based on the planet, Jordan. So there's no one thing you can do and be like, this is a militia, and have that be everywhere. Because the idea of local militias is that they are local. So if you have 50 different planets or 50 different sectors, you'd have 50 different things. So like putting Umbaran militias works for Umbara. Putting Naboo planetary defense forces works for Naboo. You're not going to have a galaxy full of the Naboo police instead of clones, but the clones were used everywhere. So, okay, so I must have just gotten stuck on something on Seraphon. But that's why the focus is on the cores of the rosters, and then we can go through the different planets or more prominent stuff and put in the planetary defense forces wherever they make most sense or wherever they're most high impact, because it is a lot of assets to make. We've adding abilities to Venator and Providence like the beam weapons. So the beam weapons were on the Venators. That was when Anakin put SPHATs in the hangars and had them fire out. It was not a common thing that happened. It'll be something that is possibly just an ability for Yularen. And they definitely... that is one of the main reasons that that Venators are so damn OP in Republic at War, because of how that ability works. It'd be at most something like Piet's Proton Beam that we go for that, so it's only hitting one hard point. and it will just be a rare or even unique ability for
We've
Yularen.
secured a build pad.
It's just like every Venator won't be Open Circle Fleet.
Ready.
Not every Venator will have Anakin's
Moving out. Heading.
idea of putting SVHATs in the hangar.
We got 'em. Fire reinforcements. Channel open. Open fire.
Unit destroyed.
Attack position.
Yeah, I think the way Republic of War does it, it's not the proton beam. It's like the super laser ability. That's why it shows up as a separate thing on the UI. But I'd have to check again. I've never really looked at the code for it specifically, except for when I nerfed it when I was playing. But yeah. So yeah, not every Venator will be able to Proton Beam. Not every Venator will be Open Circle Fleet. The way the Open Circle Fleet is going to work, the insignias for that, it's actually going to be when Yularen is present, and then you jump in a Venator after him. It'll be Open Circle.
We can move wherever you want. Orders received as fast as we can.
What do you think one unit was? The Camino and one clone is one unit, or one unit is one company? I mean, I don't think I can settle the debate. I prefer to go with the interpretation that one unit is one company, because otherwise they had like 3 clones done during the war. So I think it makes most sense to go with that interpretation. Whether it's what George Lucas meant with that, I don't know. But I think it's the simplest way to sort that out.
Yes, sir. Yes, Commander. Fire!
Unit destroyed.
Victory Fleet will be a thing. The Jan Dodonna or Jan Dodonna and
Ready.
Terranald Screed will be heroes, and then you can build VSDs. There'll be a research for the Victor Initiative project.
Good. We're ready to fight.
So all that good stuff will be there in some way. Some OG9s.
We're combat ready.
Action. Attack that target.
Another AT-AT.
Over there.
Right, so definitely some bugs to work out with these guys.
Attacking target. Fire at will.
With this releasing, we don't have a release date planned yet. I'm going to be starting full preview playthroughs soon, so you'll be able to keep track of progress a little bit more directly with that.
Affirmative. Transfer coordinates.
Bombardment available.
Let's bombard their base. Yeah, so with that, we're going to start doing weekly news posts for either Fall of the Republic or ICW or Ascendancy, so there will be at least a news post from all the mods collectively. This is really annoying, because these are some of our better units. Allegedly.
Anyone there? We can
They just decided they didn't want to do anything. They're retiring. But yeah, so when those previews start, there'll be a continuing idea of like what's left to do, and then we'll have the additional news posts so that people who don't want to watch the Let's Plays will at least know. But at least you'll be able to check in and see what it looks like at any given time, and that'll give you an idea of where things stand. Obviously, there's still a lot to do. There. Roaming Spider Droid just completely handle this for us. Yeah, I hope you two die. I mean, the thing is, Jordan, even with 3 million plus clones, that's not that many for a galactic war. Like, when you consider the number of deaths at even individual battles during World War II, then you spread that out as being possibly the scale of the war on an individual planet, and then you scale that across the galaxy. Like, even just some of the battles you'd see in the in the movies would have probably killed more clones than
We've
3 million.
secured a build pad. We've lost a build pad.
Yeah, the AT-AT is coming from Garrison somewhere. I think here. All right, let's drop
Choose your
in
reinforcements.
Heading out.
AATs. Who has HV guns? We haven't decided what the ground-to-space weapons are going to be yet for either faction. I don't know that it'll be hypervelocity guns or ion cannons for each. It might be 2 different things. It might be a planetary turbo laser and something else, or 2 planetary
T2B
turbo
over.
lasers.
On it, sir. Yes, Commander. Moving ahead. Move out. Right away. Moving out. Heading out. T2B, copy. I've got him in my sights.
There's an ATST because we are not done the mod yet, and there are still some holdovers from ICW.
Ready. All out.
There are still a good amount of placeholder assets or stuff that is in progress.
I copy.
So stuff like stray AT-ATs,
Adjusting
units
navigation.
using base game VOs, that's all very common right now. Do I like tacos? No.
Cannons charged.
I don't like tacos or sandwiches or basically anything where you're putting a thing between other things. Food.
Targeting enemy.
You plan to add a GC or factions from the unknown regions called the Republic in future versions. What about Outbound Flight? Outbound Flight would probably be covered by like an individual historical battle. Whether we expand Fall of the Republic for the galaxy-wide maps beyond just the Clone Wars maps to include stuff like other factions, there are some options for that, but it'll have to be determined later. Like realistically, we could put stuff like the Hutt as a faction with the emergent faction stuff that we're talking about later. You'll find out in a few weeks. Hapens, Chiss. And it could be cool seeing them fight against the Republic and CIS, because it's the same thing as with ICW, it faction just has to exist. It doesn't have to be actively at war with the other factions for it to count, but the core will still be the Clone Wars. If we ever finish with the core Clone Wars content and then decide we want to see what we can do with other maps for that, that would be a possibility. Especially because we're going to be doing the Hapens in ICW. Just to use them as an example, we're going to be doing the Hapens in ICW, and their content, like their ships were more traditional things, so they would have had them at that point. They were just isolationist, so they'd be a thing where we could probably just plug them in directly from ICW. But yeah. Will the different legions still be tied to their specific Jedi General? Yeah, we're going to have a news post about that, covering exactly how that's going to work later, and whether or not any of that's going to be ready for the first version. But we are going to go
Constructing.
jump over to the Republic now. So let's see. Yeah, the corporations make units cheaper, but because I'm usually doing my previews with the patron units, the corporations don't apply discounts to patron units, so they wouldn't do much for me there. Alright, we're going to do Republic next. Just going to make sure I didn't miss anything too big there. I do not like ice cream sandwiches. The Republic Praetor, the Praetor 1, you can see it on the map here, but it's got some issues where it's still being rigged with like the shadow mesh, so that's why the shadow look kind of weird and the spec map is kind of weird. So that's still in progress, but Connor did a great job on the model, so I'm hoping to get that done soon. Same with the Praetor 2 rigging. But yeah, so we don't have a release date for Father Republic yet. That is correct. We are going to play probably about another 45 minutes of the Republic here. And just to go over it for anyone who missed the start of the stream, I am going to be doing full playthroughs, full preview playthroughs of Father Republic starting in a couple weeks. This is just a quick test run, quick preview, and then I'm going to try to get more of the stuff done, get whatever we found today fixed. The testers are also playing Father Republic too, so that helps. But yeah, we don't announce release dates until we're in beta, so... Recent events of Geonosis has regaled me on duty to inform you that the Republic is at war, Commander. Clone armies have been mobilized under the leadership of the Jedi. I trust you will be able to handle the task of dealing with the threat to Count Dooku Separatist. So, I've kind of changed my mind on exactly how we're going to start the mod. I kind of wanted to start with the declaration of the Clone Wars theoretically happening like right before Geonosis, so you can still have Jango Fett as a hero and that kind of thing. Or just give people a moratorium, or a reprieve if they died at Geonosis. But yeah, so or not, we'll see. It's mostly just flavor text for that decision. Yeah, so you can see a Praetor here right now. Again, the Praetor 2 or the Praetor 1 is just using the Praetor 2 stats, which will change, but we'll jump in. Is it Volter? I think it's Volter. Go to Volter. The Delta Squad icon, so actually the way the Delta Squad icon was made, it's a render of the model as opposed to an actual picture from like Wikipedia or something, so we'll probably change that. But that's just what we used in the Father Republic mini mod we released like 12 years ago. So that's what they're using right now. It'll be switched.
Enemy forces ahead. Carrot Commander here.
Choose your reinforcements.
Yeah, shadow mesh and stuff needs to be adjusted. Stats need to be adjusted. We can still drop her in.
Moving out. Heading out. On our way. Heading for coordinates.
Reinforcements canceled.
Which also means stuff like the fighter spawns have to be. So.
Moving to sector.
Right now I think it's using the ICW game library instead of the Father Republic game library, which is the thing that tells it what fighters to spawn. So we're going to get a few TIE fighters out of there, I think.
Launch bay is gone. Carrick en route.
Reinforcements canceled.
I really like the lighting on this map.
Reinforcements canceled.
Oh,
Reinforcements
Carracks.
canceled.
So Carracks and Dreadnoughts are also currently using their Imperial loadouts. Earlier Carracks would be laser cannons and turbo lasers instead of the ion cannons.
To your orders.
So that's
Our lasers are down.
different. Same with Dreadnoughts.
Moving out.
Another one down. Engine's gotta be done. Yeah, we're not even going to worry about map props until much later. Because we're working on the planning stages of entirely redoing space environments. So that's kind of a non-issue right now. I understand the patron units, but if the PvP playthrough should you show off every... Well, there's patron units in basically every class, and I do show off as many new things especially as possible. So if I'm only able to build the patron units, I'm still showing everything that's new. I'm still showing everything. It's just, if I'm mostly building them, I'm not going to spend the money on the corporations to get a discount of like... It's never going to pay for itself in-game, so it's not worth getting the corporations for that. Any idea how long? No. We have no idea for release dates. We don't announce those until it's basically already done. And even if I guess now, it'd be wrong. So.
Our lasers are down. Primary drive system is down.
Target priority is the laser cannon.
Online.
So in case anyone was concerned that I was losing as the CIS for reasons other than me just
Choose your
sitting there doing nothing,
Those shields are down.
Focus fire on their weapon banks.
the Republic is living up to that as well.
Cruiser here. Our target priority is the laser cannons.
Generally, when I've been actually playing, the balance feels decently good. Like, there's always going to be stuff that needs adjusting, but
Waiting command. Open fire.
I think we're at a decent starting point at least. And when we start getting into actual beta and get more eyes on this, it's only going to get better from there. So
Yes, command.
we're pretty pleased with that.
Cruiser online. Navigating. The lasers are
The
on target.
direction we're going in.
Our launch bay has been disabled. Enemies in range. Target locked. Eliminating target. The torpedo launcher has been destroyed.
I think there's another one down.
Star Cruiser here.
Our lasers have been destroyed.
Commander, they're hitting us.
We've lost our launch bay.
Target priority is the laser cannon.
And like I said during the CIS version of this,
They've destroyed
or
our
what you
torpedo
guys may
launcher.
know as 20 minutes ago, the Jedi are mostly, except for like Mace and Yoda, using Luke's model right now. The Obi-Wan and Anakin ones are, the models are done, textures are being worked on. I've got to get the cloak done. Obi-Wan's got a very shitty head texture that'll need editing. I've never really done drawing a face from scratch in a texture before, so we'll see how well it goes. It's going to be stuff that I have to redo, almost guaranteed, but that's what happens when you make your own stuff. There's a learning curve. I've mostly just worked on like hard surface modeling before, or hard surface texturing. The cloak shouldn't be too bad. Substance Painter is pretty good with the presets for that.
Our launch bay has been disabled.
But Plo Koon's head's done, Anakin is done, Obi-Wan's done, Dooku's done. Need to do like Shak Ti, Aayla Secura. I'd like to do a new Mace Windu model if we can.
Has been destroyed.
When we have for him, we made a long time ago.
Our target priority is the laser cannons.
Our lasers have been destroyed.
Destroy those lasers.
Prepare for jump time.
Let's just save it later. I do want to still use that
Our
later
engines
on.
are destroyed, sir.
Will there be Gilad Palion and the Acclamator for the Republic? Yep. I think he's even spawned right now. He probably shouldn't be spawned right now. But I think he's the one without an icon on the build bar. Or on the hero bar. Let's see. Yeah, this one. This should be Pelion. There he is. I need to turn this up. Turn this on, rather.
Constructing.
So once you get about 15 weeks in, no, I think it might be 30, you can start researching the Venator. Once you do that, you'll get a bunch of Venator heroes, including Yularen. Just take Basilisk, because I think it's free.
Moving out.
We've tried to pick
Control achieved.
18 heroes for each for the first release, and then we'll expand on that later more.
Moving to sector.
The Republic heroes do tend to be... You have a few more that are slightly better, but then the CIS ones are quite good. Like, Grievous is really good. Dooku's really good. Or going to be really good. So, there are a few core combat heroes that you'd be using. Obviously, you wouldn't be starting with the with this many Venators, or any Venators, because they didn't exist yet. But
Vehicle
you do have
in
access to the lovely Invincible
Construction
class.
Complete. Construction complete.
Well, plans beyond aside from the start. For the most part, like right now, the planets that are independent tend to be Mandalorian ones and the Hutt ones, because we don't have Mandalorian or Hutt stuff to put on them right now, or at least we haven't put Mandalorian or Hutt stuff on them right now. So There's not really many truly independent planets in the time period. Yes, the Invincible is meant to be built. That's why you can build it. That's why I built it.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
It's your very early capital ship that you can use until you get access to the vendors.
We've located the enemy.
And then it locks when you get into the era just after vendors become available.
Reinforcements en route. All ahead.
Roger. Let's go.
A lot of the older like planetary defense fleet stuff would be stuff that shows up more for the Republic in the initial era.
Setting course.
Heading out.
And then as you go through, you get
Let's move out.
more stuff like the
Moving into position. Copy that.
Acclimator variants,
Yes, sir. Your orders, sir.
vendors,
Move to
victories.
attack. Fire for maximum effect.
Another one down. Another one down. Another one down.
The company that built the Invincible
Victorious.
was loyal to the Republic, so we're unlikely to give the CIS any Invincibles. Unless it was maybe like a starting force, but we generally want the sides to be a bit more distinct in Fall of the Republic.
Destination set.
Acknowledged.
Do you have any structure? No. A lot more of the Republic ground units you'd be more familiar with from ICW, so not quite as much new stuff there.
Choose your reinforcements.
Destination set.
On my way, sir.
At maximum
Destination
unit
set.
capacity.
Juggernaut ready. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
We're probably just going to end up having to reanimate the ATT entirely,
Ready.
because the
Destination
trying to
set.
export the original
Proceed.
proper animations is proving to be really, really annoying. So Bob and Slever have tried a lot, but yeah. So within the standard Phase 1 companies, you have
Moving out.
right now they come in 4 squads plus the overall commander. This map lighting isn't great for showing it off, but you can see there's the commander within each squad.
Ready.
Then you have the overall company commander. And then there'll be some other stuff you can get with that
Ready.
in other ways.
Moving out.
And there's going to be different armaments within the squads as well.
As you wish.
But right now, we're still doing all the ground combat reworks for both ICW and For the Republic. Well, that's not done yet.
Right away.
We're going to be doing like hard-pointed weapons, because that's makes it a lot easier to work with.
Heading out.
Roger
And just it swaps out the gun they're using. You don't have to have like 7 exported versions of the of each model.
Weapons armed. Let's go. Keep going.
Target
Reporting in. This way. What are your orders?
Now, this is the Juggernaut's actually much smaller than its
Moving to attack.
real scale would be right now. But it's a really powerful unit. It's a bit fast too, compared to what it ought to be with the other changes.
Over there. Acknowledge.
Unit destroyed.
armor transport ready. Destination set.
Choose your reinforcements. AT-AT destroyed.
Yeah, so none of the transports have been done for Fall of the Republic at all yet.
Sir.
Moving out.
There'll be a few different ones for each faction. We were actually discussing some of it last night.
Awaiting
But
orders.
that'd be another kind of thing where the 0.5 release will probably end up with a few holdovers. Because, again, for anyone who missed the initial, like, 5 minutes or whatever of the stream, the way we're doing it is we're releasing 0.5, which will have a good amount of placeholders for certain things, especially structures, or the reinforcement point art. We're more concerned about starting to get feedback on the balancing, on the mechanics, starting to flesh things out. And then additional polish and additional units or replacing some placeholders will tend to come with one by the time we get to 1.0. What next? What?
Tactical battle imminent.
Let's go to Forest.
The enemy is approaching.
Choose your reinforcements.
Also be a good time to plug my my lower channel, Corey's Datapad, for anyone who hasn't seen that yet.
Moving into position.
But let's go
Move out.
with this, and then
Proceeding to
I
coordinates.
think we'll say that after this battle, we'll call the stream there. I would like to start. So like I said, I talked to Shaq about making it so that he's going to be doing a Republic playthrough. I'm going to be doing a CIS playthrough to start. Is the plan? We haven't set a solid start date for that, but I have run the idea of starting on about April 5th past him. So I'm just waiting for a response on that. So that would probably be the earliest we'd start. I'd like to start that weekend. There'd still be some placeholder assets. Obviously, that's going to be the case for a while. But hopefully we'd be able to get into some actual gameplay with that. So he'd be starting Republic, I'd be starting CS. Then when he's done and I'm done, I'd move on to doing a Republic playthrough myself. And then I don't know if he'd want to do the CS one himself, but well, he'd be free to. I'll also be giving it to other channels like Expert's Ladder, Gold Survives, so we can. That's closer when we're in beta, just so we can get more feedback, get the word out there a little bit more. Just like with ICW, the beta process is going to be handled the same way when we get to that point, where it'll be run off of the forums and the Discord channel. So we'll get the stuff, it's going to be run on GitHub, people can play, it'll be open, and we'll be pushing updates until we get to the actual release, at which point it'll be put out on Steam Workshop and on Mod Database. Let's drop more stuff and get killed.
Copy. Confirm. Right away.
Shields are down.
On my way.
Unit capacity. They can do it on laser.
Eliminating target.
Where'd he go? Primary drive system is down.
Get the full meal as 10 or discover. I'm sure there'll be at least one of them as a hero eventually. We announced the unit list and the hero list for the first version or so, and we haven't made solid plans beyond what that is yet because so much stuff changes. But anything major enough is probably going to show up at some point. Hey Snorlax, I do remember you. Right now those are just ICW. Never been yeah. Linear glass cannon, good shield. It's the... I mean, it's not horrible. It's very thin, so it's not super tanky. But it's one of the better ships of the period. The thing is, most people would know him in ICW from like fighting against much newer things or much larger things. But when you're in this time period, they're still state-of-the-art. They're competing against stuff of a similar size class or smaller. So they're able to dominate a little bit more. Yeah, so like I said, this will probably be the battle to close out the stream. So if you guys have any further questions you'd like to ask, or anything I missed earlier that you'd like to try to throw out there, I'll see if I can get to it. Well, we lose more of our units, and I just sit here and watch for what we can do there. But Architects need to send in some Architects. I think we may actually win this one because I've thrown so much shit at them
Let's go. We'll be there soon. Moving out.
with absolutely no focus.
Moving to sector. Carrick on route.
Where your supply costs at yet? So yeah, it's all. A lot of the ships, like it's all scaled the same way as it is in ICW, both physically and with PopCap. So most of the bases there, like I'm sure stuff will be adjusted, but it's mostly in the right ballpark. But part of what I mean by smaller stuff, Asterix, is that the a lot of the CIS ships have a lot of negative space. So even though Recusants and Munificents and Lucrehawks are quite large in terms of length, there's a lot of areas in the ship that are empty. So they're not quite as bulky as you'd expect for something of their size. So like even though a Lucrehawk is much bigger than a Venator, 3 Venators can usually handle them alright. Are you planning on playing any non-EW or Sims games in your future? I do have the Stellaris playthrough that's going on. I'm still going to be doing KOTOR. I think that's going to be coming back. It's just I've been doing a lot of work on getting ICW ready for the Imperial playthrough, Fall of the Republic ready for this, and the upcoming Fall of the Republic playthroughs. I've also been trying to set up Datapad, plus personal life stuff. So I haven't had time to do any of the quote-unquote secondary series like Stellaris or even Sins. So a lot of that started falling by the wayside. But now that Datapad is launched, now that ICW is going on with the previews, we're going to be starting the beta, so it's going to be less about adding content, more about responding to whatever bugs get reported, and more cleanup with Fall of the Republic. It's in a better place now. Then I'm going to have more time to do the other series, and especially with Datapad, hopefully supplementing views from Corey Loses, I don't have to worry about any individual video doing as well, so I won't have to do like 7 AW videos a week, which will burn everyone out on it, but yeah. Yeah, definitely get the Steamworks or the Steam version of the AW whenever it's feasible. Like, it goes on sale for about $5, so for the bug fixes, for the stability fixes, it's always worth it. I mean, at this point, while we're still going to release for as long as we can on the other versions, any tech support issues that people have related to using the GOG version or the disc version, like if they have any issues installing, considering how much easier the Steam stuff is, and that is the suggested version, the fact that we have to strip stuff out of ICW to let it work on other versions, our response to those now is literally just get the Steam version, because I end up spending like an hour helping people fix an issue that would be fixed by them spending $5 to buy the game, and I just don't have time to do that anymore. Yeah, the Tri-Fighter needs to go to the mesh version of engines. Same with the Arc 170 needs to go to blue muzzle flashes instead of green.
We've lost our launch bay.
Attack formation.
The torpedo launcher has been destroyed.
I'm on them.
They took out our lasers.
Acquiring target.
Choose your
All out.
reinforcements.
All the acclimators died over here.
Stragglers.
Carrick en route. Understood.
Regroup for another attack.
I have them now.
Well, this is also, what, like 10 Venators, 10 Acclimators, the Praetor, worth of fighters. So
Stand by. Starting our sweep. Those
any
guns are
situation where you have that many is going to be a problem. The thing right now is just making sure that the CIS tends to outnumber the Republic for fighters, which you can't have with the current number of Republic fighters there are, and then having more CIS ones in it. That would be like a lag factory. What's the plan for Mandator? So we're gonna have to make a design for the Mandator because there's no official pictures for it.
Torpedo launcher.
But yeah, the battles are definitely a lot bigger in Fall of the Republic, as you can see from this stream, because it's a lot of the ships that you would probably consider frigates in ICW, and then
Primary engine system is down.
with PopCap being scaled the same way, and that's kind of what we're designing around, where you're gonna get bigger engagements like that. There you go, though. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this early look at Fall of the Republic. We will be starting the full preview playthroughs soonish. I'm going to try to sort out as many bugs as possible. The team's working hard on ICW and Fall of the Republic, and also Ascendancy has started picking up a little bit. I did a little bit of work before the stream on that. But any ships getting single unit retreat in Fall of the Republic? Yes, that will be a thing. Most of the abilities that you'd see in ICW will appear in Fall of the Republic at some point, at some time. But yeah, so if you want to join the Discord and catch up on those news posts I mentioned earlier, progress posts, you can do that from the link in the description. If you're not there already, the Imperial Civil War preview playthrough is going on right now. The beta will be starting soon, so look out for that. Corey's datapad is also a thing, so if you look on the channel in the featured channel section, that's another thing you can do. Do you think the new Google will make change in? I don't know. I don't think that would actually have any impact on EAW's multiplayer being complete fucking trash. GC, I mean. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna click the button that ends the stuff right now. So thank you again for watching, everyone. Maybe I'll do this again before the previews start, but I don't wanna oversaturate the Fall of the Republic market yet. But yeah. Bye, everyone.